Hey, my name is Thomas, and today let's talk analog night photography. That's a nice thing. I got into this again after many years in 2020, and today I just want to show you how to take correctly exposed night shots with on analog film. You have a few easy steps that you have to follow. Number one, of course, you need an analog camera. Very obviously, it should have a B or a T setting for long time exposures, and you also should bring a cable release. Number two, you need a light meter, because most analog cameras, even if they've got a light meter built in, it won't work in this sort of environment where you are needing 20 seconds, 30 seconds, or maybe 2, 3, 5, even 10 minutes of exposure time. For a light meter, you can either use your smartphone with an app on it, or just bring your digital camera. And number three, you have to factor in the reciprocity failure of your film. That's a characteristic of almost any analog film, and it means that the film gets less sensitive when you take a long time exposure. So you sort of have to compensate for that with an even longer time exposure. So yeah, let's have a go. So here's an example how I'm using the light meter app on my iPhone. It has a spot metering function, and so I can meter all the various parts of the photo. For example, this tower gives me a reading of f14, and here in this bright spot it gives me f18, and the very bright windows up there f45, and the background I got a reading of f6.3 or something, and overall the average metering is f10, as you can see. And in the end I decided for that because the tower was for me important, but I wanted to have it maybe overexposed by one stop-ish to make it look bright on the photo, and the background can be underexposed by 1 or 2 stops, that's no problem. So f11 seemed to be good to me, and as you see, the result looks very good. Reciprocity failure. To know how it affects the film that you're using, you should just Google for the instructions. Every film manufacturer gives you details about how big the reciprocity failure is. For example, Ilford, they even publish a curve that you can see now here in the video. As you can see, it can be pretty severe. I mean, you're measuring 10 seconds, and according to that curve you should expose for like 17-18 seconds. You're measuring 45 seconds, and the curve says you should go for a full 2 minutes instead. So it's sort of a pretty drastic effect sometimes. Incidentally, I was using the Fuji Acros 100 for the shots in this video, and this film almost doesn't have the effect. So it's a really cool film for night photography. I'm not sure if it's currently available or not. But you really should consider Fuji Acros if you want a black and white film for night photography, because under 120 seconds measured you don't need to compensate at all, and over 120 seconds measured you only need to compensate for like half an f-stop. That's almost nothing. Really cool film, and also super fine grain, but Ilford Delta and Kodak T-Max of course are similarly fine grained, super fine grained films. You can go for any film that suits you. So yeah, I had a lot of fun taking the photos for this video. I was just venturing to the Rhine here in Cologne, which is about like maybe 500 meters, maybe a kilometer from where I live. But when I took the photos last week, a couple of 100 meters down there, yeah, it started to rain in the midst of an exposure. I had metered something like I think 2.5 minutes, and after a minute it started to rain, and then you saw the raindrops on the lens in the photo. They added a sort of nice effect even. Then came some security. What am I doing there with the tripod? But I was okay to be there, so that wasn't a real problem. I took another shot with reflections into, there was big windows of a big building, and there was another building reflecting in the windows, so I took a shot there. But then the people inside that building, also some security guys, apparently thought, what's this weird guy doing there? And they just turned on the whole interior light. So all of a sudden it was super bright, and I just had to cancel the exposure very quickly to not overexpose it. But now I had a very nice shot because there's a lot of interior lights in the skies. So it added a nice effect. And then I took a photo of an old car in the back alley, and it was really, really dark there. I measured for 80 seconds, which is 8 minutes, so times 1.5, because of the reciprocity factor of the Fuji Acros was 12 full minutes. And again it started to rain after like 2 minutes, and I was standing there shading the camera a bit. I got really drenched in rain, and then I thought, what do people think? What's this weird guy doing there with this ancient, huge camera standing there in the rain and not basically moving for a couple of minutes? So after, I think 7 minutes or so, I stopped the exposure, and as you can see, the result was still very great. So also, to come back to the technical stuff, always keep in mind that analog film, especially negative film and black and white film, it has a huge amount of exposure latitude. When you're over or underexposing half a stop or something, it really doesn't matter. You will always have a great result. So the camera I'm using today, it hasn't been used for 20 years, and the film that I'm using today, the Fuji Acros 100, this roll expired in 2005. So what can go wrong? Hopefully nothing. Speaking about expired film, just look over at emulsive.org. There's a great resource for information how to use expired film, and if you can use it, the bottom line for me was this film here, 100 ISO, low sensitivity, black and white, and always stored in the fridge. You basically can use it without any problems, even if it's expired since 1 or 2 decades. One of the small life hacks, if you've got a light table, you want to see your photos, your negatives or your color slides on it, and you don't know where your loupe is, or you maybe don't have a loupe, just use a camera lens, an old 50mm lens, and you have to peek into it from with the eye through the front lens with a bayonet or mount facing the light table, and voila, you've got a perfect loupe. I took 8 photos this night, and all 8 turned out perfectly. As you can see here on the light table, there's a blank exposure in between that was just me triggering accidentally the shutter button when I was putting the camera into the bag. My fault. And apart from that, all the shots turned out perfectly. I didn't have one bad shot. So if you follow the same rules, I'm sure you will have a lot of success also. Yeah, one last thing I have to say, I was really blown away by the quality of these 6x6 photos. If you get into analog photography, I know there's so many cool 35mm cameras out there, and I also love my Olympus OM1 and my Pentax Spotmatic and whatnot else. But yeah, I was shooting this thing, 6x6 Mamiya, and the photos are just wow. I was really amazed. I really have to think about the future of my analog photography after I saw these results. So yeah, that's it. That's all you need to know to take great analog night photos. Maybe you'll have a lot of fun trying it out for yourself. I hope so. Apart from that, if you've got any comments, or maybe you know a really cool light metering app for a smartphone, just write a line in the comment section below. I love all your comments. I will happily answer every single one of them. And yeah, apart from that, you know the drill. Like and subscribe to my channel, and I see you in the next video. Bye.